Hare Krishna, everyone. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Gurudev. Thank you so much for coming here. So today we have Her Grace Sukha Sagari Mataji facilitating this wonderful session of teaching us the shlokas. So as we see that Srila Prabhupada, even in the initial days, she started teaching shlokas in the early 66, 67 lectures also. You can see that. And if we read or hear one lecture of Srila Prabhupada, we can't find even one without quoting a few shlokas. So always Srila Prabhupada has stressed that quoting the shlokas, understanding the meanings according to the context gives credibility, because we are talking something that is supported by the Shastras directly. So this is a great opportunity for us to delve into learning these shlokas in a systematic way. So thank you so much, Sukha Sagari Mataji, for having thought about this, conceived this idea, designed the whole course, and also coming to facilitate it with your sweet voice and your expertise in shlokas. So Mataji is a disciple of His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj, and is a very senior member of Bhakti Sangha Japa group, known for her very philosophical and deep classes. So, and also for her wonderful songs, ranging from Gopi Gita to Alvars, Pasurams, and also Mataji composes the music to the shlokas. So we are very fortunate to have you here, Mataji, and thank you so much. Please take over now and you can teach us. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Lal. Thank you, Mataji, for introducing this session. And I'm not qualified, and I don't know if I even can stand up to half the things you said, but this is just a humble attempt to, in the service of Srila Prabhupada, service to Srila Prabhupada and all the devotees that I'm attempting to. And I need all your blessings, to do some justice to this seva. So I really beg for all the mercy of all the Vaishnavas. And like you rightly said, this has been on the anvil for more than a year. I remember us discussing about it, like even last year, but that's why we were thinking, it will be a Prabhupada 125th anniversary, but for some reason it just got pushed due to, I don't know, whatever Krishna's plans are. So I humbly begging for the mercy of all the devotees and Vaishnavas, to do my bit here. And it's a team effort, like she said, Mataji said. A lot of people have helped me to put up the slides. Vinita Gandharvika Mataji, for extracting the audio, Vrinda Mataji, Indu Mataji for putting out the poster, and Preeti for coordinating everything, Lalitangi Mataji, the big source of inspiration. So there's a lot of hands, as always, going behind the scenes. So I'm very grateful to all of them. And I'd request Vinita Mataji, if you can speak a few words.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And thank you everyone for joining today's Srimad, Prabhupada quoted verses. We are learning Prabhupada quoted verses. I'm so happy to see all of you on the call and you all registered. It's very nice. I just wanted to share something why we learn Srila Prabhupada quoted verses. So these verses are most quoted by Srila Prabhupada. We learn it because we feel more authentic when we try to preach to new people. And we also hear from our daily speakers that we have everyday Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita classes. So we see that speakers often quote these verses. When they quote these verses, we feel so related to it. Wow, we know this verse and I learned this, right? And we understand the topic, what speaker is trying to tell us. When we see that we already know the verse, right? When we already know the verse, we can easily relate to what speaker is saying. speaker also tries to make these slokas quote in between to understand the topic very nicely. And Srila Prabhupada always used to quote these verses many, many times so that it straightly goes into our heart and we can imbibe these meanings that Srila Prabhupada is trying to tell us. So these are my few experience and my personal experience with my daughter when I started teaching her like some of the Bhagavad Gita slokas. When she listens Bhagavatam class or CC class, when she hear those slokas that speaker is quoting, then immediately she comes and says, Mama, I know this sloka already. So that makes the child to go into deep and understand what after reciting this sloka, what speaker is telling. They will try to listen more. So I really love to learn more slokas so that I can teach to my daughter. Thank you so much, Sagari Mataji, for this initiative. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Vinita Mataji, and all the other, esteemed devotees on the call. So I hope you are able to see the screen.
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, sure. And I just have one request. I would like this class to be as interactive, because unless we recite, it's not going to go into our heads. So, I may ask a few volunteers to recite the shlokas. So please feel free to raise your hands. There's a raise your hand feature on Zoom. So you can just raise your hands there and we'll just call out 2 or 3. Please don't be offended if you don't get a chance this time, maybe the next time. And so we'll be reciting at least 3 or 4 times. And you can please, all of you, I would recommend that recite after the speaker, on mute, because unless we recite and say it out loud, it's not going to happen. I mean, we're trying to memorize. And also, I will not be delving into the philosophy, because I mean, tons of things can be said about each of these key shlokas. That's why Prabhupada has, each of the shlokas, Prabhupada has given 5 or 6 classes on them. So without delving too much into the philosophy, but just, trying to grasp the purport of it, and just trying to grasp the meanings of the words and the pronunciation, that's where our focus is going to be. And like I mentioned, please do take a pen and pencil and write down what you see on the screen, because writing reinforces memory. So it's a very good tool to actually remember. And so these are a few things I just thought I would, let you know right up front, so you can be prepared. And I'm trying to target 2 shlokas in one session, not more than 2, because I don't want it to be too much of a stretch, because I know people have work and other services and school. I mean, there are other children too on the call. So I just thought 2 may be an optimum number. But if it is too much or if it is too less, we can try to revise the number we're trying to learn, down the road. So that's not an issue. So let's just try to see how best we can go about this. I will also be learning along with you all in the course of this journey. So I need all your blessings and prayers. So let's first offer the Pranam Mantras. Please feel free to unmute your mic and offer, say these aloud if you know. If you don't know, please try to follow the text. And I'm sure with a few classes down the road, you will be able to pick it up. So we can start. You can feel free to unmute your mics. Namo Vishnu
Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani
I would request one volunteer to please read the translation. Anybody would like to volunteer?
Mataji, can I read?
Okay, I see Pooja Chiplunkar. Can you please go ahead? Sorry, I'm just going by the order I'm seeing. So, yeah.
Hare Krishna. I offer my respectful obeisances unto His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is very dear to Lord Krishna, having taken shelter at His lotus feet. Our respectful obeisances are unto you, O spiritual master, servant of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami. You are kindly preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya Deva and delivering the Western countries, which are filled with impersonalism and voidism.
Thank you, Mataji. We'll recite the next shloka.
Shri
Jai
Krishna
Shri
Chaitanya
Krishna Chaitanya. Yeah, all of
Prabhu
you.
Nityananda Shri
Shri
Advaita Gadadhara
Sadi Gaura Bhakta
Sita
Vrinda.
Yeah, any volunteers
Shri
to
Chaitanya
read the
Prabhu
translation?
Nityananda Shri Advaita
Yeah, I see
Gadadhara
Mataji, can Advait read?
and all other in the line of
Sure.
devotion.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I see like 4 or 5 raised hand. Vinita, do you know who raised first?
Yeah, Parikshit.
Okay, yeah. Parikshit, can you please go ahead and read? Sorry, I mean, I would love to give everybody a chance, but there's going to be more opportunities, so please don't be discouraged. Yeah, please, Parikshit, go ahead and read the translation.
Okay, Mataji. I offer my obeisances to Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita, Gadadhara, Srivasa, and all others in the line of devotion.
Thank you. Let's all chant the Hare Krishna mantra together, the Maha Mantra as we know it. Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna Krishna
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare
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 Rama,
Rama
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama
Hare Rama,
Rama,
Hare Hare.
Okay, any volunteers to read the translation? I see Garima, you have raised your hand. Garima, please.
Yes. Oh Lord, oh energy of the Lord, please engage me in your service.
Great. Thank you so much. So with these prayers to Srila Prabhupada and Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and also, our fervent prayer to Lord Krishna and Radharani, we will start. Like Mataji said, the importance of learning Prabhupada verses cannot be, understated. I mean, there are so many reasons. I just tried to pick a few of, Prabhupada's quotes from his lectures, which I thought maybe, very insightful into why we should be learning these slokas in the first place. Because this will, whenever we kind of slacking or, we, kind of tend to go away from this path of learning, we can go back and read these words of Srila Prabhupada to, give us more inspiration and motivate us. So, like I said, again, volunteers. Advait, would you like to read the first paragraph, please?
Yes, Mataji. So
Thank
this devotional service is Raja Vidya because it is Uttama Ulgata Tama. There is nothing material contamination, Uttama. Therefore, Krishna is sometimes called Uttama Sloka. Krishna is worshipped by verses which is not ordinary poetry. Ordinary poetry just like Brahma Samhita.
Thank you. So we can see how Prabhupada is saying that Krishna's other name is Uttama Shloka. So we need to learn these wonderful verses, which are not ordinary creations. They are, apaurushaya, like they say, the Vedas and the Shastras. And this is how we can glorify Lord Krishna and do the service of glorification in a nice way by learning these shlokas, beautiful shlokas, which are written by, perfect devotees, sometimes incarnations, and to glorify the Lord himself, who is none other than Uttama Shloka. So this is the first verse Prabhupada quotes in this context. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. And then he goes on to quote Brahma Samhita, Brahma's prayers. Chintamani prakara sadma shukalpa vriksha lakshavriteshu surabhirabhipalayantam Lakshmi Sahasrashata Sambhrama Sevyamanam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. These are Uttama Shloka. These shlokas, these descriptions are not of the material world. So this is just one excerpt I took from one of Prabhupada's lectures. We will see one more, a couple more, so that we get all the motivation and enthusiasm to learn. And yes, any volunteers to read? Vishnu Priya, please go ahead.
Uttama. Uttama means Udgata Tama. This material world is Tama, ignorance, darkness, and Krishna is beyond this material world. Therefore, he is called Para. Para means transcendental. So, Uttama Shloka. So, when we offer our prayers to Krishna, they are not ordinary words. Therefore, those who are not liberated soul, they cannot offer prayers actually. We have to repeat the prayers offered by liberated soul, not by ordinary man, because he is not yet Uttama. He is not yet in the transcendental platform. Therefore, we don't allow songs which are not sung by liberated souls like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Narottama Das Thakura. They are liberated souls. We don't allow any literature which is not given by liberated soul. Literatures, they are always following Vedic principles. Vedas, the original transcendental literature, and any literature which is produced under the guidance of Vedic literature, that is also nice. That is perfect. Therefore, whenever we write something, we give immediately Vedic evidence. We give some Sanskrit words. This means that we are not manufacturing ourselves. What we have heard from the Parampara system, from higher authorities, we are presenting simply in our own language, and the evidence is this Vedic words. This is perfect literature. Hare Krishna.
So, thank you so much, Mataji. So like we see in this lecture, Prabhupada is explaining that when we quote these Vedic verses, it provides more authenticity, to the listener, and who understands that this is, not just coming from us. It's not any mental concoction or something which we have tried to prepare on our own. This is like coming straight from the Shastras. So that's one more reason Prabhupada says in this lecture why these learning the shlokas are so important. And we'll move on to one more slide, and then we'll go on to the verse for today. Jyoti Venkateshwari Mataji, do you want to go ahead and read the first part, please?
Sure, Mataji. Thank you. Hare Krishna. So Narada Muni says, before this, Narada Muni has advised Vyasadeva that in order to release all these conditioned souls, you just describe the wonderful activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Simply by hearing Uttama Shlokasya Vadat. Uttama Shlokasya Vadat. Uttama Shloka. Uttama Shloka means the Supreme Lord who is described by transcendental literature or very fine scholarly language. He is called Uttama Shloka. Uttama Shlokasya Urukramasya. That will save all conditioned souls from being implicated in the clutches of Maya. Lecture on. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Prabhupada again writes here that, this shlokas, this when you read this Srimad Bhagavatam, it releases all these conditioned souls from this material clutches of Maya. This will save all conditioned souls from being implicated in the clutches of Maya. So when we recite these shlokas, we can get some respite from this Maya, which we are always entangled in 24/7. I mean, speaking personally. So this is another, great reason that, it can get rid, at least for some time when we are trying to meditate, we will go into the transcendental realm and think of Krishna. So that's a good, way to think of Krishna and to remember him. Yes. Next, I'd like another volunteer to read the next part, please. Uma Challa Mataji, please go ahead.
Lecture on Srimad Bhagavatam 1.8.44, Mayapur, October 24th, 1974. Krishna's or God's another name is Uttama Shloka, who is worshipped by the best selected words. Selected words. Uttama Shloka Gunanuvarna Namam. Yaduttama Shloka Gunanuvarna Namam. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.5.22. Idam he pumsa tapasaha shrutasya vasvistasya sukatasya cha buddhi datayo Dattayo Have Chuto Ratan Kabir Bihir Nirupito Yad Uttama Shloka Gunanuvarnamam.
Thank you so
Srimad
much,
Bhagavatam.
Mataji.
Hare
I
Krishna.
appreciate it. Yeah, I'm. This is also an often quoted verse of Prabhupada, and so we will be learning this, in due course, as we go along the different chapters. So this is 1:8, prayers of Queen Kunti. This chapter is from Srimad Bhagavatam. So we'll be going there too and trying to learn many prayers of Queen Kunti also, like slowly as we progress through this. And let's move on to the next slide. I just thought it will be good to, go over this, how English language is used to transliterate Sanskrit. So there are a few things I just wanted to bring your attention to. If you see, if there is a bar on top of any letter, like you see in on top of U, then it is a long sound. Like if there is a bar on top of A, then it's an ah sound. And if it's on top of U, it's an oo sound. Like that. If you see a bar on top, that's an elongated, no long vowel sound. And then if you see a bar on top of I, it's an E sound, elongated E sound. And then there are also some other things, like if you see there is a dot under the T, it is pronounced as ta. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with Hindi, but if you are familiar with Hindi, learning this will be even easier. And ta as in tomato, as in tub. I'm just using all the, because I'll be giving kind of, I don't know if I can call them silly cues, but something to make us remember, like I remember Hanumat Preshak Swami Maharaj, he makes all these acronyms to remember what are the canto contents, like that, he made an acronym for remembering, the contents of Srimad Bhagavatam, each of the chapters. So I'll be doing some, trying to attempt such things too, so that, it's easy for us to remember. I mean, they may sound silly, but then when they sound silly, you tend to remember something, right? You tend to associate. So yeah, don't mind all those kind of things in the class. I hope it'll serve as a memory aid for us. That's the main intention, not trying to, not trying to bring down the essence of this, grave subject matter here. So ta as in tomato, or the dot under, and then th, when there's a dot under the T and then followed by an H, is like tha, the tha sound with the ha. And the same way, D with a dot under is da, D followed by an H with a dot under the D is dha, like a dhamru wala dha, like that. Okay. And then there's one more thing I will be going through. So if you don't follow this now, please don't worry at all. I'm just giving some kind of information here. But I will be going through, as we go through the shlokas, I'll be again, going all through all these things. Wherever we see a hyphen over the word, or wherever we see a dot under the word or above the word, I'll be going through all that. So absolutely no worries. And then this is sha. If you see the dot under it, there's the sha as in shine. So that's the shatkon wala sha. The sha which is written like the pa in Hindi, like that one. And then this is sha with the the hyphen over it. That is called like in you can say sharir, like sha, the other sha. So these are the two different shas, and s is just sa. Okay. And so we'll be learning, I mean, seeing more of this as we go through. So if you didn't catch what I told now, please don't worry at all. Absolutely no worries. Okay. And let's move on now to the shloka of the day. Before before we delve into the shloka, actually there is a very beautiful recording of Srila Prabhupada Yes, Parikshit, I see your hands raised. Thank you so much. We'll come to you. First, let's listen to Srila Prabhupada. Please, you can feel free to unmute your mics, or if you are shy, you can mute your mics, but please repeat after Prabhupada. So I'm playing Prabhupada's audio here. Can you hear?
Yes, Mataji.
अन्वयाद् अवये सूरयः
तेजो वारी मृदं यथा
यथा
विसर्गो
धाम्ना स्वेन तथा
उहुकं सत्यं परं
धीमहि.
So were you able to follow? Like I just put Prabhupada's recitation of word by word because it's highly potent to listen to Srila Prabhupada's own words. So I hope you were able to follow along. Yeah, he'll be repeating it one more time, and I will share this lecture also when later if you want to listen again as a reference.
Like that.
Yeah, please, all of you, recite.
Now, first of all, let them practice. Janmadi.
अन्वयात् सराट्
Brahma.
आदि सूरया मृदां यथा तत्र विसर्गो उहुकं परं धीमहि.
Yeah, so that was Srila Prabhupada. We were listening to Prabhupada go word by word. And now I'll just go once, line by line. So all of you, please feel free to unmute. I hope the words are clear. And you can unmute and recite, after I'll just go line by line. So, it's a different meter because the sentences are long. So it goes like जन्माद्यस्य यतोऽन्वयादितरतः जन्मादस्य यतोऽन्वयादितरतः चार्थेष्वभिघ्नस्वराट् जन्माद्यस्य यतोऽन्वयादितरतः चार्थेष्वभिघ्नस्वराट्
यतो
तेने ब्रह्म हृदय आदि कवये
तेने ब्रह्म हृदया आदि कवये
तेने ब्रह्म हृदय आदि कवये
तेने ब्रह्म हृदयायादि
मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः
मुह्यन्ति यत् सूरयः
मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः
यन्ति यत् सूरयः.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't recite the first line. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Devaya.
Okay, everybody is clear on the first line. Let's do it one more time. Janmadyasya yatonvayaditaraha tatheshvabhignasvarat
आदश्यतो नान्वया रसः तातेष्व अभिज्ञस्वराट्
तेने ब्रह्म हृदय आदि कवये मुह्यन्ति
तेने ब्रह्म हृदय
तेने ब्रह्म हृदयादि कवये मुह्यन्ति
यत्
यत्सूरयः.
सूरयः.
Okay, I'd like two volunteers to just recite the first two lines, please. Anybody who is not volunteered earlier. Anchal, Dheer, do you want to go ahead?
Yes, Mataji.
Thank you.
जन्माद्यस्य यतो अन्वयात् इतरतश्चार्थेष्वभिज्ञास्वराट् तेने ब्रह्महृदय आदिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूर्याः.
Thank you. Savior Para, do you want to recite? All of you, please recite in such a way that others are able to follow. So when you recite, go like half a sentence, and then the others may try to follow, and then complete the rest of it like that. We want everybody to recite along with you. The more we hear, the better we learn. So Savior Para, do you want to go ahead?
Yes, Mataji. Janmadyasya yatonvayaditaratas chartheshvabhignasvara.
Okay, yeah, after Swarat, and we'll try to recite it.
Okay.
Okay.
Janmadyasya yatonvayaditaratas chartheshvabhignasvarat.
जन्माद्यस्य यतोऽन्वयादितरतश्चार्थेष्वभिज्ञस्वराट्
ब्रह्महृदयादिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः.
तेने ब्रह्महृदयादिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः.
Yeah, thank you so much. Like there could be different melodies for the same, but we'll try to follow the same melody so that the melody also makes a difference in trying to memorize. So I will sing it once again, the melody which I sang earlier. Janmadyasya yatonvayaditaratah chartheshvabhignasvarat. Please repeat.
जन्माद्यस्य यतोऽन्वयादितरतश्चार्थेष्वभिज्ञस्वराट्
तेने ब्रह्म हृदय आदि कवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः.
तेने ब्रह्महृदय आदिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः.
Yeah, so today as we are, we did some other introduction, so we are running out. I wanted to do all the lines, but I'm going to stop with just the first 3 lines for today, and we will do the remaining in the next class. I hope that's okay. I don't want to overrun time here. Moving on. This is the word by word translation for each of the words there. Om refers to, oh my Lord. That's the translation. Namo, offering my obeisances. Bhagavate, unto the personality of Godhead. Vasudevaya, unto Vasudeva, or Lord Sri Krishna, the primeval Lord. So in this first shloka, Srila Vyasadeva is establishing the fact who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In one sense, in some lectures, Srila Prabhupada says this is the Sambandha Sloka, and in which we come to know of the supreme position of who is Bhagavan. So the first verse, the first line of the verse says, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And it refers to the personality of Godhead, Bhagavate. It doesn't stop right there. And then there's a qualification which is given Vasudevaya. So it's clear here, who is the Bhagavate, who is the personality of Godhead here. There's none other than the son of Vasudeva, that is Vasudevaya, Devaki Nandana, Vasudev's son, Vasudevaya. So it's very clearly being, established the fact as to who the Lord is. Next, we will see what are the potencies of the Lord. So the next line we see Janmadi, Janma, Adi. Janma is a common Hindi word, and many languages it's used. Janma in Tamil also. Sorry? Yeah, sorry, if you want to, unmute yourself, it'll be great. Janma, even in Telugu, so many languages, Janma, everybody knows means the, creation or the birth or coming forth. So Janma Adi. Adi is again an Hindi word, which means etc., right? So creation, sustenance, and destruction. Janmadi. Asya. Asya in Sanskrit generally refers to this, what is the context of this, what is being spoken about. So here it refers to of the manifested universes around, what we see around ourselves. So the creation, sustenance, and destruction. Janmadi, asya, of what? Of this manifested universes. Yato, from whom? From whom it refers to these, the above line there, which we first recited, from whom it comes, all this creation, sustenance, and destruction of the manifested universes, it is actually orchestrated by whom? Yataha, Anvayad Itaratas Charteshva Bhigneswarat. And then this is the first part of the verse. If you see, it talks about Janma Adi Asya, the Janma, the creation, sustenance, and destruction of the manifested universe. It comes from whom? None other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then the next part, Anvayad Itaratas Chartheshva Bhigna Swarat. So Anvayad means directly. Itarataha means indirectly. Chartheshu, the purposes. Abhigna, fully cognizant. Swarat, fully independent. Now we'll try to, the first part I hope is clear. Now we'll try to understand the second part of this line. Anvayad. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead is involved in the creation, maintenance, and destruction. In all these activities which we see around us, either directly or indirectly, he knows everything, like what is happening. And let me.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Yeah.
When you were explaining the synonyms, word to word synonyms, doesn't Adi also mean beginningless?
Yes, it also means that beginningless. In this context, like the Sanskrit words may have different meanings. In this context, it refers to the Janma Adi. Janma means creation, maintenance, and destruction. That's how Srila Prabhupada has translated. Yeah. So
Okay.
it refers to the three, the creation, maintenance, and destruction in this verse. Good question, Mataji. So I just made some picture cues to understand the first line, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We see he is the primeval cause of all causes of the creation, sustenance, and destruction of the manifested universes. So you see here Vasudeva with the baby there, baby Krishna, and he shows his four-handed form. So these are some cues to make us remember, he is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations, and he is independent because there is no other cause beyond him. So in this, you see the Vishnu, his Mahavishnu, he's lying on this Karna ocean, and he's just breathing. The universes come from his, body pores, and then he does nothing basically. There he doesn't have to move, lift a finger. It just happens like that. So in some cases, he's directly, doing the creation process, and in some cases there are agents, who do all the work for him, like all, like the different demigods and other, devotees of the Lord carry out many of the functions, because the Lord just wills and it happens. So Prabhupada gives a very beautiful example of, the microphone. He says that, we know that this microphone has some components inside of it, some electrical components which tend to magnify the voice, which tend to, amplify the voice, when we speak into it and such. But then, we can try to take all these things and put together, but then the person, only the maker of the microphone would actually know how this is actually being done. He also gives another example of the chief engineer of a construction project. Though the chief engineer may not be directly, going and laying the bricks there in the construction project, or trying to do, something by himself, but then he knows what's exactly happening in the project, every single day of the time. So similarly, the Lord, Anvayad itaratah chartheshu abhigna means he's perfectly, he has perfect knowledge. It's derived from the jnana, that word, jnana. So jnana is knowledge, abhignyam is perfect knowledge. So the question arises as to who gave Krishna this perfect knowledge. We may ask, okay, he has the knowledge, fine, he has the perfect knowledge, but who has given it to him? The next word in the verse actually qualifies, sorry, which is the slide? Yeah, actually qualifies that one, and that is abhigna swarat. So he is totally independent. He doesn't need anybody to give him that knowledge. He is the supreme personality of Godhead himself. Okay, so this is what the first line says. Janmadyasya yato anvayad itarataha. That is the direct and the indirect, purposes of whatever is happening, in the creation, maintenance, all this. Who is the perfect knower? Abhigna. It's the Lord himself. And does anybody teach him? No, he is Swarat. He is independent. So these are the qualities which are being described in the first line. So we kind of get a context, right? So the first half says of the creation, maintenance, and destruction. Janmadyasya yataha anvayad itaratah charteshu abhigna swarat. So we see that who is the knower and who he's also independent there. But then, okay, Swarat. Next line, Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kave Muhyanti Yat Suryaha. So this part of this line, it says that, okay, the Lord knew this knowledge first, but then who is being referred to here as Adi Kave here? Anybody?
Brahmaji.
Yeah, Brahmaji. So if he is being referred, like the Mataji asked a question, Adi also means, the first person or the original. So if he is being referred to as Adi Kavaye, so why is, knowledge being offered to him by the Lord, So when the Lord, when Brahma is being glorified as Adi Kavaye, it is because he was the first, living entity, Jiva Tattva, who was manifest. And he was, not in knowledge of all this, the process of creation and everything. And the Lord himself, who is Abhignya and Swarat, gave this knowledge. Tene, from within the heart, Tene Brahma Hridaya Adikave. Adikave is that, is referring to Lord Brahma here. And then this line, Muhyanti Yat Suryaha. Muhyanti means bewildered, the Yat Suryaha. We have heard of Sura and Asura, right? So the Suryaha is nothing but like the demigods, they are also Muhyanti, they are bewildered about what? That we will see in the next two lines, which I will do in the next week. So this logical conclusion comes here for understanding the first part. But this Muhyanti Yat Surya, that the demigods are bewildered, to see what we will learn about this in the next two lines. I will leave it there for tonight because it's already 8:04. I don't want to, do overload in one class. But next time we will be finishing 8 lines, I'm hoping, because we will not be doing all those introductory readings which we did today. But so the assignment for this week would be to just learn Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya and the first 2 lines. Janmadhyasya yatonvayaditaratah chatheshvabhignasvarat tene brahma hridayadi kavaye muhyanti yat surayah. So muhyanti yat surya, we don't know still why are the demigods bewildered. So that's a good point for us to think about for the rest of the week. So we can stop here, and I'm not sure if we have time for questions. Anybody has questions? Any pressing questions today's class?
Mataji, one question. Itarat Shah, how do we pronounce that Shah? S or
Yeah, it's because I tend to split it when you sing it all together. Itarata cha, because the sa and the cha, it makes the sh sound. So sorry, sh sound. So if you see the hyphen on top of the s, so that's a sh. Janmadyasya yatonvayadi tarataschartesh. So when you're going to join it with chartesh, because I give a gap there, I say itarataha. Okay, but if you're going to sing it together like Janmadyasya yatonvayadi taratascharteshvabhignasvarat. So when you sing it together, you use the sandhi, which is sha. Otherwise, you can sing it as because I give a break, to take a breath. So that's fine. Janmadyasya yatonvayadi taratah chatheshvabhignasvarat, because I take a break there. But if you're going to sing it as as one full line, itarataschatheshvabhignasvarat tene brahma hridaya adi kavaye muhyanti yat surayah. जन्माद्यस्य यतोऽन्वयादितरतः चाथेष्वभिघ्नस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्महृदाय आदिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः. So I hope that clear, Prabhuji?
yes, sir.
Sure. Okay, any other questions?
Mataji, I have one question. In the word-to-word translation for the itarataha, instead of the S, like itaratas, they have given itarataha. Instead of the S, they have made it H.
Yeah.
So how do we know when we are supposed to pronounce S as H?
Yeah, if you're going to split it, then generally in Sanskrit you don't end the words with itaratas like that. It'll be like itarataha, the ha sound, like the so yeah. So if you're going to stop there, if you're going to read, like I said, half of the sentence, janmadyasya yatonvayadi taratah Chartheshvabhignaswarat. So I'm catching a breath there, giving a kind of a pause, and then singing Chartheshvabhignaswarat. The same thing applies to Chartheshvabhignaswarat. Cha artheshu, you see? But it translates to shva. But I'm singing together. Chartheshvabhignaswarat. So that time I'm using the sandhi, I'm using Chartheshva. But if I were to say it separately, I would say Chartheshu. I wouldn't be saying Chartheshva. Like that. I'll be saying chartheshu, because that's when I'm not combining with the abhigna there. We are not combining yet with abhigna there. So at that time, I would be just saying chartheshu. So that's how it's generally done in Sanskrit.
Okay,
And,
thank you.
Yeah, I hope that's clear, Mataji.
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody has a question?
Mataji, can we get the verse number also for future reference?
Yeah, I'll be sending all the materials to you, and perhaps even this slide, this PPT with the audio, and let me just go to this part, this slide. This is a listening exercise. I would want everybody to listen. In this class, Prabhupada has explained the meaning of the shloka. When you listen to Prabhupada's words explaining the shloka, trust me, it just enters your head. You just memorize without you knowing that you're memorizing. It happens, and it is, I'm not saying just from my experience, this is from so many devotees I've heard. You just have to listen to Prabhupada explaining the shloka and you memorize the shloka. So this is the homework for you, is to listen, write the verse, the first half of the verse, the 3 lines, once a day, and say along when you're writing the verse. And even in today's class, I would appreciate, if anybody had a pen and a paper along and wrote down, as you were seeing on the screen, it helps to memorize. After all, we're trying to memorize here. So, and if you cannot recall, what you're doing, go back and listen to Prabhupada's lecture. This lecture link, everything I will send this whole PPT. You can listen to how Prabhupada is reciting, and also you can listen to the lecture where he explains each word. So I have only picked, there are 6 to 7 lectures. I've only picked the lectures which are pertinent to this verse. So, you don't have to go through all lectures. So in this lecture, he has defined all the words. When you listen to it, it will automatically, you will memorize it. Trust me. That's a fact. I mean, I've heard from many devotees. So, and then also you can write the verse once a day, and along when you're writing, please recite, say each word, Janmadi Yasya, like that. You also say, and try to get like a feel for what, each line means, the context. That's all is there. By repeating for 1 week, you will definitely be able to do by Srila Prabhupada's mercy. Yeah. Any other questions?
I have a question, Mataji.
Mm-hmm.
It's just about the pronunciation from Yato to Anvayad. I'm having a bit of difficulty joining those 2 words. Any tips for that, please?
Yeah, it is Asya Yataha. The word by itself is Yataha, and then Anvayad. But when you're reciting, you just say, this apostrophe is here, you see? This, sorry, I was telling it as hyphen so long. Please forgive me for that. This apostrophe, you just kind of overlook it, Yaton Vayad. Just, assume that this does not exist. So it is actually this apostrophe before a word means that there is the letter A there. That's how it is usually understood. But when pronouncing it, when reciting it, you just say Yaton Vayad. So you just, tend to overlook this apostrophe, okay? Yaton Vayad. Is that clear, Mataji?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, Janmadyasya Yaton Vayad. So you don't have to say Yato Anvayad like that. You just combine it, and that is silent, the apostrophe, that's silent there. So I hope that's clear.
Yes, Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Yeah, okay. If there are no more questions, can we end the call here? We'll recite the Vaishnava Pranam Mantra. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya
Thank you so much, Sagari
Thank you
Mataji.
so much,
Such a
Mataji.
wonderful
Thank you so much,
session.
Mataji.
It was
Thank
very,
you
very
so
nice.
much.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna,
I will
Mataji.
send this material on the WhatsApp.